What if taking care of yourself actually helped you show up better for everyone else? I'm Janet Jacks, Coach Janet J, and this is your next best step. This podcast is about real doable shifts that help you breathe easier and move forward one step at a time. If you've been carrying the weight of too much for too long and waiting for things to calm down before you start caring for yourself, this is your sign. The time is now. Let's begin where you are. You were made for more than just surviving. If the words, "Can you help me?" feel like admitting defeat, you are in good company. Today's episode is for the woman who would rather push through exhaustion, figure it out alone, or quietly struggle than risk being seen as needy. The woman who has spent years being the one everyone leans on, and somewhere along the way forgot how to ask for support for herself. If asking for help feels harder than doing everything yourself, even when you are drowning, I see you. And I want you to know there are real, researched reasons this feels so hard. You are not imagining it. So let's talk about why it is so hard, what is really happening beneath the surface, and most importantly, how to take one small, brave step toward letting others in. Here's what I hear from so many women. I don't want to bother anyone. They're all busy too. If I ask for help, they'll think I can't handle my life. I should be able to do this. What if they say no? I'd rather not know. And beneath all of those, a deeper fear. If I need help, maybe I'm not as capable as I thought. Maybe I'm worthless. Here's what makes this even more complicated for those of us following Jesus. We have been taught to serve, to give, to be there for others. And somehow that got twisted into believing we should never need anything for ourselves. But here's the truth. Scripture actually teaches two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. That's Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. God designed us for interdependence, not isolation. The question is not whether you should ask for help. It is why it feels so impossibly hard. Research from the last several years gives us some real answers for why this feels so hard. Barrier 1, role pressure and the strong woman script. In 2024, the Commonwealth Fund analyzed its 2023 International Health Policy Survey across 10 high-income countries and found something important. Women are more likely than men to be informal caregivers, and caregivers overall report more emotional distress and strain. So, if you've been the one carrying other people physically, emotionally, logistically, your "I'll just handle it" reflex did not come out of nowhere. And psychologists have studied a related pattern, especially among women who have been socialized to never appear needy. In research on the superwoman schema, and more specifically, the strong Black woman schema, the pressure to always be strong, suppress emotions, resist vulnerability, keep going, has been linked to higher psychological distress and a reduced sense that support is even allowed or necessary. In other words, sometimes what looks like strength on the outside is actually a learned survival strategy that quietly blocks support. Barrier 2, embarrassment, rejection fear, and I don't want to be a burden. Here is something thought-provoking. Researchers Vanessa Bonds and Francis Flynn found that people often underestimate just how much embarrassment and self-consciousness keeps us from asking for help. The discomfort is real, and it is a bigger barrier than most helpers realize. And then there is the fear of being a burden. We imagine we are asking for too much, taking up too much space, or making life harder for someone else. But here is what the data says. Francis Flynn and Vanessa Bonds found that help seekers underestimate how likely people are to say yes by as much as 50%. We are bracing for no when the odds are often much better than we think. Barrier 3, the myth of self-sufficiency. We have been taught that needing help is failing. But the research on isolation is blunt. In a large U.S. cohort study of adults 50 and older, published in JAMA Network Open, increases in social isolation were associated with higher risk of mortality, disability, and dementia over time. Isolation does not make you stronger. It wears you down. When we refuse to ask for help, it does not just affect one area of our lives. It impacts everything. Mental, there is constant overwhelm, racing thoughts, inability to focus, decision fatigue. Your brain is maxed out trying to figure out how to do everything alone. Emotional resentment builds towards others for not just knowing you need help, and toward yourself for not being superhuman. Loneliness settles in, even when you are surrounded by people, because no one knows what you are actually carrying. Physical, chronic stress from overfunctioning shows up as tension headaches, digestive issues, sleep problems, and a weakened immune system. Your body is literally paying the price for your independence. Spiritual, you start to feel distant from God because you are too exhausted to pray, too overwhelmed to feel His presence. And underneath it all, a quiet question. If God cares, why does everything feel so hard? Here is the hopeful part. When women start receiving real support, practical help, emotional support, shared load, they often report lower stress, better mood, and more capacity surprisingly quickly. Not because life becomes perfect, but because they are not carrying it alone anymore. Now, here is a perspective shift that research supports. When you refuse to ask for help, you are not just hurting yourself. You may be blocking connection. Researchers have found that generosity and helping are tied to increased well-being for the giver, too. One Nature Communications study found a link between practicing generosity and increases in happiness. And a meta-analysis of kindness interventions found that doing kind acts tends to boost the actor's well-being. Small to medium, but real. So, when your friend helps you, watches the kids, runs an errand, listens for 10 minutes, you are not just taking, you are inviting closeness. You are letting someone participate in love in motion. Think about that. When your friend asks you to watch her kids for an hour, or your sister asks if you could drive her to an appointment, how do you feel? Burdened or trusted? Needed? Connected? We love being asked because it tells us we matter. It tells us someone trusts us enough to be vulnerable. When you never ask for help, you are sending an unintended message. I do not need you. I've got this handled. And while that might protect you from feeling vulnerable, it also keeps people at arm's length. Healthy relationships require both giving and receiving. When you only give, you can accidentally keep people at arm's length while still feeling lonely. So, what if we looked at asking for help differently? Consider this. Asking for help is actually wisdom in action. You are recognizing that you are human, that you have limits, and that you were never designed to carry everything alone. That is not defeat. That is reality-based living. And there is real courage required here. It takes more bravery to say, I need support, than to pretend you are fine. Think about it. Vulnerability isn't the opposite of strength. It is where genuine connection begins. Here's the stewardship angle that changed my perspective. When you ask for help, you are managing your resources wisely. You are preventing burnout and protecting your health. And you are creating space to actually thrive instead of just survive. That is good stewardship of the body and life God gave you. And biblically speaking, we are commanded to carry each other's burdens. If you never let anyone carry yours, you are blocking the very thing God designed community to do. Asking for help might actually be an act of obedience. Here is your challenge for this week, and I'm keeping it small on purpose because I know how hard this feels. Step 1, identify one specific need. Not everything you're carrying, not a vague sense of being overwhelmed. One concrete, manageable thing you need help with. Some examples? Could you pick up my prescription when you're at the pharmacy? Would you be willing to listen for 10 minutes while I process something? Can you watch my kids for an hour on Saturday so I can go to the grocery store alone? Would you proof this email before I send it? Could you help me move this furniture this weekend? Step 2, choose a safe person. Not the person who is always too busy, and not the person who makes you feel guilty for asking. Think of someone who has offered help before or that you've helped in the past. They will be more likely to reciprocate. Who has the capacity right now and who you trust not to judge you. Step 3, practice a neutral script. You do not need to explain, apologize, or justify. Try this. Hey, I've realized I've been trying to handle the specific thing alone, and I could use a little help. Would you be willing to? And give a specific ask. That is it. No, I'm sorry to bother you. No, I know you're busy, but no long explanation of why you need it. Just, I could use help with this. Are you available? And here is an important part. Give them permission to say no. If it doesn't work for your schedule, no worries at all. I just wanted to ask. And that matters more than we realize, because a 2024 study in Scientific Reports found that when you give people a clear way to say no, they feel freer in the interaction. Ironically, making an authentic yes more likely. This takes the pressure off them and off you. If they say no, it is about their capacity, not your worth. Let's address this fear head on. What if you ask and they say no? First, remember, no is information, not rejection. It means they cannot help right now, not that you should not have asked. Second, research by Francis Flynn and Vanessa Bonds found that help seekers can underestimate others' willingness to say yes by as much as 50%. We think they will say no when they are actually eager to say yes. But what if they do say no? Ask someone else. This is not about finding the one perfect person who will rescue you. It is about learning to reach out, period. And if multiple people say no, that is data too. Maybe the ask is too big. Maybe the timing is wrong. Or maybe you need to look for support in a different way. But please hear me. One no is not evidence you are a burden. It is evidence that you asked one person who couldn't help at this moment. I know this feels scary. I know it goes against everything you have taught yourself about being strong, capable, and independent. Here is what strength actually looks like. Knowing when you need support and having the courage to ask for it. You are human. You were designed for connection. And asking for help, that's how we practice being human with each other. So this week, just ask for one thing. One small thing from one safe person. And notice what happens. Not just for you, but for them too. Notice how it feels to be on the receiving end of someone's care. Notice how it deepens your connection. Because here is the truth. Two are better than one. And when you fall, and we all fall, there is no shame in needing someone to help you up. That is wisdom. That is courage. That is being fully alive, and it is your next best step. All right, you've got your next step. Small, doable, and real. If this inspired you, make sure to grab your free 5-minute daily reset at yournextbeststep.com. It's my gift to help you pause the chaos and reconnect with what matters most. Be sure to subscribe. And if someone came to mind while you listened, please share this with them. Remember, you are seen, you are known, and you matter. Be kind to yourself along the way. You are making real change, one step at a time.